I'm excited for today's podcast. I have Christian from Ooni joining me on the show. Christian, thank you so much for hanging out with me here on the podcast.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me.
I know we were talking before we got started here that your oven, obviously like the portable ovens have been huge the last 5 years in the pizza community. And I was in the pizza world operating pizzeria brick and mortar for 25 years of my life. Never really made pizza at home other than in my own like home oven. Yours was the first. The Ooni was the first one I bought to make like legit pizza outside.
That's so awesome. I'm so glad to be part of that journey for you. Usually it's the
great.
other way around. People get it for the home and then they get into pizza
Open a
making
pizzeria.
more seriously. Yeah, exactly.
But I think, that's a great point nowadays. That's exactly how it happens. And a lot of people who listen to this podcast or check out our YouTube show do that, right? They start, which your product kind of made that possible, because when I first started in the pizza community in the world, owning, you'd have to spend $10,000, $15,000 on a home pizza oven in order to do the same thing that you could do with yours for like $500.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really where it started for myself. Is I didn't have money to spend on thousands on a traditional Italian style, Neapolitan style pizza oven for our garden. So spend a lot more to start creating the company and creating the products to make it happen.
I'm excited to actually hear how that started. So can you give everybody a little bit about your background? Like, how did you get started into the pizza world?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm first of all, I got into making pizza around 2010. But my background, if we rewind all the way back to the 90s, my mom used to run a bakery, the supermarket that my parents ran. So baking and cooking at home has always been a massive part of my childhood and growing up. Around 2010, my wife and I got married, and I just got very into making pizza at home. I just started experimenting. Pizza industry and the kind of restaurants that we found were very there was this sort of 80s style pizzerias in London at the time, and that were making okay pizzas, but there wasn't anything to really write home about yet at that point. But then they started to be Neapolitan style pizza started to make its inroads into London, and I was like, okay, I really, really need to learn how to make this style of pizza, not just the stuff you can make in a domestic electric oven. Yeah. And turned out, of course, we know temperature is everything when it comes to pizza making, everything from your brewing temperatures to your cooking temperatures. And discovered that, well, my domestic oven isn't going to be able to do it. So that's where the pizza oven journey started, kind of experimenting with different things on how to make these pizzas better. But it's really, for me, it started with that passion for making better pizza at home.
So you have no technical background, like when it comes to like building the actual oven?
So my background is, I've got arts background in one way. I grew up in an entrepreneurial home. I grew up in a supermarket that my great grandmother had started. So there's this kind of entrepreneurial and kind of commercial streak running through there. I'd never got into a hobby in my life that I didn't already immediately start thinking, is there an opportunity in here to turn this into something more than just a hobby?
A true entrepreneur, that's the thought process for the day.
That's it. You get into something. I remember I got into running in the sort of mid 2000s, and it's like 2 months into it, I'm planning on starting a London touring business where you do running tours around London. But that's kind of how my brain's always worked. I've always been really quite interested in technology and sciences, and so I've subscribed into sort of science magazines from very young age onwards. But photography happened to be the one thing that I really got into, and at the time of choosing what to study. And I guess I make this kind of connection that there's something about photography and running a business where you have this, in photography you have a vision for what you want to create. In many cases you work with a large number of people to create that, and I think that's kind of similar with running a business. You have a vision for what this could be, but you need all these other people to make it happen. And with the pizza ovens in the early days, I had an idea of figuring out what is the problem here, what is the problem that we need to solve with these traditional ovens. And one of them was that they are just cumbersome and they're very, very large. How do we make something that anybody could have in any backyard? And it was about coming up with a way of burning fuels very efficiently, very hot and very efficiently, using the direct flame to cook your pizza rather than sinking all that heat into all that energy into thermal mass of a traditional oven. And then it was about reducing the weight of that thing down from hundreds of pounds down to literally 22 pounds. I think the first one weight boxed.
That's crazy. So did you then research like, all right, who kind of manufactures these, or did you reach out to other people? Because was there other mobile ovens around, but they weren't great or cheap? Is that what it was?
There wasn't really anything like this. There were some experiments that a guy in San Francisco had this thing he called Frankenweber, which was kind of a Weber
Yeah.
grill turned into a little tight, sort of semi-mobile sort of pizza oven thing. So I experimented with something like that first, and there were some ideas floating around, but there wasn't anything quite like this. And so it was really that kind of problem-solving journey of figuring out how small can I make this thing. I can send you afterwards. I'll send for the show notes maybe a picture of one of the
Yeah,
very
that'd be
early
great.
ones of the kind
How
of
big was the first one? Was it big?
prototypes. It was like size of a carry-on suitcase, made out of aerated concrete blocks or breeze blocks
Ugh.
that you could cut through, and I made it into this kind of structure and had a camping stove underneath it to give heat and give energy into it. And it baked. I mean, it baked a pizza in like 4 minutes, which was still better than my domestic oven could make.
Yeah. Because a domestic oven usually goes to like 500 degrees, usually max, right? Is that usually the
Yeah,
highest temperature?
yeah. And tends to be that you get your first pizza is like 5-6 minutes, then your second pizza is 8 minutes, and then your third pizza is like 2 hours. So you lose so much
Yeah.
heat every time.
Yeah.
Every time you make one.
I mean, so I grew up in the pizza industry. Like, this is what I've done my whole life. So I have kids and they're older. So like the thing for my kids was to have their friends come over and make pizza. We used to do it like in the oven, and it was, or like grilled pizza was the kind of thing when my kids were little.
Yeah.
And we would try to do that, but it was like a nightmare. I was like sweating more doing that than I was actually operating the pizzeria, because it was like so many different logistics I'm not used to.
Yeah, no, it's a different situation making it at home. At least in a pizzeria, you can kind of set things up.
Yeah.
As long as you've got some control over it, you can set things up just the way, and you've got the equipment to make it. But at home, this is what we needed. We needed something compact to get really, really hot to be able to make those types.
How long have you been? How old is the company now?
So we started as a Kickstarter campaign in 2012. So 2012. So we're coming up 12 years now. It started off like, I honestly, like when I think about the original campaign from 2012, my palms get a bit sweaty thinking about it, how rudimentary the kind of prototype that I had for the campaign was. But it was like, I remember being incredibly excited because I could see this sort of like, okay, this is where we're now, but I know where we can take this by developing this out to market, getting people to use it, taking the feedback, and really using it ourselves as well, just continually improving and kind of challenging ourselves to make something better. So it started as a Kickstarter campaign. I've been a follower of Kickstarter campaigns for a long time before that, a couple of years, where it started in 2009. And so I was quite excited about actually bringing something to market through that method.
Well, I talked to a couple of people who started pizzerias kind of that way. They started a Kickstarter, and not exactly sure how it works, but I know that you have to raise so much money, and then if you get to the point, like then you get the money. Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I mean, we had a very modest campaign goal. I think it was like £7,500 British pounds. So it comes to about like just over $10,000. But that was really the goal, was to raise enough money to make about 100 of these. And I had a metal workshop down the street from me that could potentially make like maybe 50 to 100 of them. It really pushed. The campaign did a little bit better than that. It wasn't one of these mad campaigns that just blow up immediately, get to millions. So it was actually, I think, very lucky for the campaign at the time. And so I was kind of forced my hand to find a better manufacturer and somebody who can scale up a little bit. So it went from like maybe making just 50 units for the first production run to 500 units for the first production run, and had some units after the campaign then to sell across the world, which is really, really awesome. But yeah, that's basically the mechanism. Is you have a project, people, if they believe in it, essentially pre-order it. It's a great way of testing the market and seeing if anybody else wants it. It's also really great now, so if you're a bit more mature as a company, to testing your marketing messages, and is that kind of what lands with people. It's changed a
Yeah.
lot in these 12 years, of course. These days, you have to much more so bring your own audience with you, at least in the beginning of the campaign. You can't just show up and expect people to back it.
Yeah.
And again, for a pizzeria, I think it's going to be very, very different. And for a pizzeria, I think you have to do a lot of local campaigning for
Yeah.
something like that to really properly
Yeah.
work.
I think you are right on with that. Like, but I feel like you are. So there's been a boom, right? Ever since 2020 and COVID happened, it's been like this boom of home pizza makers where obviously there was that 2020, 2021 where people didn't go out as much. So they were trying to figure out how to make bread and how to make pizza at home. And then that turned into a lot of people with COVID, people staying home, wanting to make good pizza, and then social media. That turned into like people starting to use these pop-ups in home pizza kind of pizzerias to start their pizza journey and then turn it into a full-blown pizza business, which I feel like you're kind of responsible for, because before your oven, like in those portable ovens, nobody really could start that way or as easily as they can now. You can literally start a business now.
No.
I talked to somebody, I have this shirt on. I was just in Chicago, and I think he's one of your ambassadors, Giovanni from Pizzeria.
Oh, yeah.
And I was in his pizzeria, and he's in a coffee shop now, but he literally started with a couple of Oonis in doing pop-ups, and he started his business. And he was an executive before that, and he did both jobs. And then now he quit his job, and he's a full-blown pizzeria, but he started because of your oven. So I feel like you're kind of responsible for everybody being able to like take the leap and start their pizza journey.
It's so cool. Like Gio, like I think he was like accountant or CFO or something like that. He was in finance or something like that before this, and then it just happens. You start making something with your hands, and you see the reaction of people when you make it to them, and it's easy to fall in love with that reaction when you actually make something people love, and you have that immediacy of it. And Gio's great. I saw him in Chicago actually a couple of months ago. We were there at an expo. He was cooking for us there, and groups of people gathering around eating his great pizzas.
We just did a video with on our YouTube channel with him, and it was great. I think that your oven made it possible where when I first started, I keep I feel like an old man. I keep referring back to like when I was young. But when I first started in the pizza industry, in order to start a pizza business on your own, you had to like work and save, $50,000, $100,000 in order to be able to like buy an oven and lease a building or a space and get started. Now, these guys are buying 3 of your ovens and, starting an Instagram account or a Facebook and like really making pizza at home and giving it away. And like I think he said he started for $2,000 and like it turned into a full blown business where he quit his job and he was making pretty good money doing it.
It's incredible to see that, and it really is that. Like you look at even like quote unquote mobile ovens from 10 years ago. You're looking at a trailer that's $20,000-$30,000, and you can still only make a couple of pizzas at a time with it. Now I was speaking at Pizza Expo in Vegas, March. Just now, and there's a guy I was speaking with, and he was really interested in one of our new ovens there, and because he was saying that he's got a wedding catering business where he makes pizzas in the evenings and at weddings, and he's got 6 Coda 16s side by side running to make pizzas just back to back. But like even if you look at that's like $3,000 just for the ovens. That's in grand scheme of things, that's not really that much money.
Nothing.
And
no, that's nothing to start a business.
Yeah, and you can make thousands of dollars on a wedding gig like that. So
there's so many people that I've had on this podcast that do that. Like that's how they do it. That's how they run their business, and they love that because it's different than like a pop up or if you're at a brewery, which a lot of people do too, where you're kind of dependent on the traffic of the brewery bringing customers to you. But if you do a wedding or an event that's prepaid and pre-planned, it's like you know exactly what you need to do. You know exactly how much money you're going to make. You know exactly what the profit is before you do any of that.
You don't have to move, and you literally, I mean, you can charge. You've made the money before you've made any pizza that night. Exactly that. It's an awesome gig, and you're serving customers, and there's going to be at least half a dozen guests who are going to get married within the next 5 years, and they're going to be booking you again because you've just made some awesome pizzas for them.
Yeah. Today's podcast is also brought to you by Slice. Slicelife.com/smart pizza. If you are an indie pizzeria who's looking to take advantage of technology, online ordering, all of that great stuff, and compete with those big brands, you got to check out Slice. Founded by a third-generation pizza person who grew up in his family's business and saw firsthand how hard it is in the challenges of being an independent pizzeria, he created Slice. And now this company's whole mission is to keep local businesses thriving, and it's been on the right track for a long time now. They handle everything like powering online ordering and building you a free website. Plus, also, stuff like customized marketing, which is about getting customers to order from you more frequently. And they give you all the data. They share all the data with you, so it makes them a true partner. But it's not a third party. People often mix up Slice with Grubhub and Uber Eats. It's not one of those people because those third-party apps don't give you the data. Slice gives you the data, and they care about their customers, and they want you to succeed. Because if you succeed, they succeed. It's a true partnership. If you want some more information on what they do, go to slicelife.com/smart pizza and let them know you heard them on the Smart Pizza Marketing Podcast. Good pizza too. Like, I mean, obviously you got to, the oven makes it possible to make good pizzas. It doesn't mean you can make good pizza just because you have the oven.
You
but
do
at least
have
it gives
to
you a chance.
make great pizza. That's not gonna be. You can't blame it on the oven at that point anymore,
Right.
or anything. It's in your dough fingers to make it happen.
Do you guys have any plans to like make so I know, are these technically commercial ovens? Do you say they're commercial ovens, or are they for more at home?
So yeah, it's an interesting question because we get that quite a bit, and of course, like these are used in commercial settings, and
Yeah.
at the moment, our kind of take on it is that I mean, they're ovens, they get hot, and they're safe for domestic use, which is often the safety regulations for that are stricter than they are. There's different types of safety regulations for domestic use, and we have to take into account kind of everybody else who's around it. If you're either in a restaurant environment, you know that they're meant to be there, whereas home environment is quite different. So we are looking at some levels of commercial certification for our ovens. But in most cases, what people do is they buy the ovens and then they just get it certified by their local authorities. Because again, with these types of products, it's often in the US, it's the city council or whatever you would call that, that kind of regulates these restaurant industry. So you need to kind of make sure that they're okay with it. And as long as they're okay with it, they might ask you to make some changes. We've heard somebody having to change professionally change the hose on it, the gas hose, into something like metal threaded or something like that.
Got it.
But as long as it passes those, I mean, there's nothing really in these products that divides them from being commercial ovens. Our market is the domestic market. I mean, most of our customers are, but we love it that people are using these in commercial setting because there's no reason why you wouldn't be able to use this in that setting. So
It's probably good for you marketing wise too, because if someone does have a wedding and they say, hey, what kind of oven are you using over there to make these pizzas? And like all those people who are guests at that wedding are definitely potential customers to buy an oven from you.
Yeah, we actually have a bit of a program where we kind of occasionally reach out or have dialogue with people who are in using these products commercially, as we would call it, powered by Ooni group of people, and we kind of provide some in-kind support in that to kind of help them out. The legislation side is difficult because it varies literally from city to city in some cases. But it's great, and we leaned onto that during the COVID years when people were starting to do this. Actually, people weren't doing it to make money; they were just doing it because they were bored. They wanted something to do at home. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna have a pop-up for my street here and doing it. So
I always thought about my kids when they were little. I mean, they're old now. I always wanted to do it where I was like, make pizza for Halloween. So I don't know about in the UK, but in the US, the Halloween's a big holiday, right? Where all the kids dress up and they go from door to door to get candy. And there was a guy down the street from me who had like a cotton candy set up and a popcorn thing. And I was like, you know what? I should do pizza. That would be like an unbelievable thing to do, pizza for Halloween. And I still may do it, but I was always so busy in the pizzeria for Halloween that I couldn't ever just like spend the day getting prepped up for it. I always thought I wanted to do that at my house and like have my house be the place to be for pizza on Halloween.
Yeah, no, do it. Absolutely. I think just go for it.
I'm going to try it, I think. Back to your ambassador program, like, can you walk me through that? Like, how do you find somebody for that? Or like, what are you looking for if you want somebody to kind of be a part of the team?
So I think it's what is it exactly we look for? We don't necessarily go for people who just have a huge following. That's
Yeah.
not what we look for. There's people who are kind of high-end respected, like globally respected professionals. We look for really people who are good people in our community. And we've been like, I think this kind of stems back to our Kickstarter days as the kind of place where we got started. It was one thing about Kickstarter is that it's hugely community based. Like
Yeah.
you're really there. You've gathered this group, 142 people in our case, who are kind of the core of our community, who just want us to succeed. And having that community at the heart of building Ooni, I think has meant that I think for a long time I've said this, that I think our community, especially when you look at like places like Facebook, where these groups of people can be a little bit not that great of a place to hang out, but we've always had such a beautiful community where people actually just want each other to succeed in whatever they're doing, whether that's a pop-up they're doing or it's just making pizza for their kids on a Friday. So we look for people who, of course, because it's I mean, a lot of this is these days it's all so much about kind of how great does your pizza look like. I mean, visually you
Yeah.
can make great looking pizzas, but can you also photograph it really well? So there's that visual element to it. How creative are you in your kind of toppings, and how creative are you in experimenting with the different things? And then we look for good people to be part of that community.
So you just
Actually,
have
got
do you have
button.
do you have somebody
Yeah,
that
go ahead.
reaches out to them? Like how big is your team?
So we have a team, the full team. We're about 290, 285 people globally,
Wow, that's amazing.
and yeah, though it's a good sized team. So
Yeah.
we're based here in Edinburgh. So I'll tell a little bit about the kind of overall how we are. So we're based here in Edinburgh in Scotland, where we've got two offices. One that does our product development, which is our HQ, and then we have our actually slightly bigger office that does kind of the everything else that happens in UK. Then we've got a office for the US in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
We've got about 50 odd people over in the US, about 40 of them in Austin, and then kind of field sales, regional sales kind of spread around US, which is great because I love coming to the US. So I've already been there maybe twice this year and got another couple of trips coming up. So
That's great.
it's lovely being able to do that. And then we've got an office in Bonn, Germany, and over in China where we manufacture. So really good sort of global presence and global reach in that way. And then
Who's the biggest
part
market?
of our marketing,
Is the UK the biggest market?
US
Or
is our
US?
biggest market.
Is
Yeah, US. And
Is it catching on in
UK,
other places too?
yeah, so we've got UK's always been our sort of core market in terms of penetration between number of sales versus people. We've got the second biggest brand recognition, unaided brand recognition in the UK, and the biggest is in Finland, which is my home country. So they've taken it really on over there. Although I've not lived in Finland for 22 years, but we kind of try and have a bit of a soft spot for Finland, of course. I go there all the time. So gotta keep on top of
That's
that.
great.
So UK performs per population really, really well. US is our biggest market. Of course, it's a great market for this type of product. People love cooking outdoors. They've got space in US in a different way than people in many places in the UK.
And plus, pizza is such like a part of our culture over here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a different way part of the culture than it is in many places. There's a lot more experimentation. There's a lot more variety to pizzas around US, which is super exciting.
How many models of the oven do you guys have now?
I'm gonna have to count this now in my head because we've just launched a new Coda oven.
What's
So I'll
the new
start
one?
So we've got the new one we just launched. We've actually just started taking pre-orders on it yesterday.
I'm gonna bring up the
we've
website on the
lo-
screen here if that's okay.
Yeah, pull it up. Absolutely. So we've got our Karu ovens, which are our multi-fuel ovens. So Karu 12, OG model launched in 2020. Karu 12G, kind of refreshed new version of that, and Karu 16, the kind of 16-inch multi-fuel oven. all awesome, all have their place in the world really neatly. Coda 12, got a super lightweight, easy to take anywhere with you, baked Neapolitan style pizzas, doesn't weigh much.
I think
Then
that's the
you've
one
got
I have.
yeah, that's cool. And then you've got Coda 16, which I think, did you say your nephew
Yeah,
has that?
he has this one. I believe
And
he has this one right here. The Karu.
all
I think he
right,
has the
okay.
Karu.
Karu 16. All right, nice one. Excellent. So that's up until Coda 2 Max launched. That's kind of our flagship model in terms of, and you can cook so many things with this. You can do
Yeah.
16-inch pizzas. I've done a one Christmas. I cooked a prime rib, like a 5 pound prime rib over 4 hours in there, just very slow roasting, smoking it there,
Wow.
and then served it, carved it up for everybody at Christmas table. So they go from like 60-second Neapolitan style pizzas all the way to um, prime ribs. So
The door is like the game changer on that probably too, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And the kind of visibility of the flame, visibility of what you're cooking in there, and also maintains heat really well
Yeah.
inside the oven
What's the most popular
because of
one?
that. So it's an interesting question because they all kind of by market that varies quite a lot. Coda 16 is probably right up there. Some markets like smaller ovens, some markets like bigger ovens. I hope people take up on Coda 2 Max really well. That's the newest one. It is phenomenal. It is so cool. You can cook 3 10-inch pizzas at a
Wow.
time with it. It's just stunning. We just had a press launch for it last week, and we had two UK chefs there, a guy called Gil Meller and one of our ambassadors, Rich Payne cooking for us, and we made literally everything from scallops to porterhouse steaks to this pizza style dough pizzas and these 20-inch dessert pizzas, like everything in between. It was just stunning. And
That's
it's our
crazy. He
first
makes a 20
connected
inch
product
pizza.
as well. Yeah, we've got 21 inches of depth in the deck there. It's 24 inches wide right at the back of it. So you've got tons of space, tons of space.
That's great. So I have a couple questions from Instagram. I put out there. I said, "Hey, I'm talking to the owner of Ooni. He's going to be coming on the podcast. Any questions?" I think one you kind of answered already. It says, "This is from Pie 95 Pizza." It says, "Do they plan on making any larger commercial ovens, like larger ovens for inside a pizzeria?" Which you kind of answered already.
Yeah, check out Quarter 2 Max. I mean, if you need anything bigger, then happy to direct you to commercial oven manufacturers.
Yeah,
But this is an awesome, stunning oven.
that oven's probably going to be popular with like those people who do weddings and pop-ups because you can do just two of those ovens. You can do a whole bunch of pizzas.
100%. Like the guy I mentioned who has got six ovens, he can literally take replace those six with 3 of these, and that means you're also carrying fewer gas canisters or gas tanks to the event. You're maintaining fewer ovens, and you can cook 2 12-inch pizzas side by side.
And then like you don't need three, like 4 ovens going to cook the same amount of pizzas.
Yeah,
It's just a lot easier.
all just so much more straightforward.
There's another question here from Art and Craft Pizza. It says he would like to know about. So I know that the uni ovens usually cook at high temperatures. What do you suggest for cooking at lower temperatures, like 500 to 600 degrees?
Yeah, so for depending on what you're looking at, so for example, Coda 2 Max now or Coda 16 for that matter, what we recommend if you want to do, like for example, if I'm making even something a bit more sort of technical, like I'm making a Detroit style pizza that needs like a 15-minute bake,
Yeah.
I'll make sure that I've got the right temperature on the deck on the stone, and then drop the temperature almost all the way down just to get that longer heat. Same thing with making like a New York style, I don't know, should say 5 to 7 minute bake. Just make sure you've got the energy in the stone first, and then you play with the flame in terms of how long you want the toppings to cook.
Got it. And then another question here is like, so when you first set it up, I'm going to explain their question a little bit more. Someone at home who's just starting out, how do you suggest they start making pizza with the oven? Do they crank it all the way up, let it get to a certain temperature, and then turn it down? Or like explain the process of making like a really good pizza from the start at home with the oven?
So yeah, that's one good way actually. That's a good tip to kind of get it all the way up and then pull it back down. My own personal kind of style that I make, I use about 80% type 00 and then a 20% blend of some strong white, sort of more red flour.
Yeah.
I do a 24-hour warm brew, room temperature brew for it, and then I usually aim for about a 3.5 to 4 minute bake. So you get a nice lift on the crust there. You get nice crispiness on it, but really soft on the inside. Just that's my own go-to. And to get that, if I'm cooking indoors, I'll use the Ooni Volt 12, and I get it all the way up, but then I drop it down to like 700, 750. Depending on how much time I've got. If I've got time, I'll just let it heat up properly, and just go straight to the temperature that you're aiming for. If I'm cooking outdoors, again, we live in Scotland here, so weather is fairly varied. It's
I'm in
we
Boston,
like
so
to
I
say
know what
that.
you mean.
Yeah, absolutely. At least you get beautiful cold winters. We get beautiful wet winters here.
Oh yeah.
This is we're a bit more like Seattle, I guess, for the US. So usually just get the oven going. We're really quite conscious of how much fuel these use, so we try and optimize them really, so they're not just kind of burning fuel for fuel's sake. So we really kind of try and dial that in. So leaving it on for an extra period of time just to make sure you're ready to cook properly. It's not that big of a.
How long between, like, and I know I could figure this out, but like, how do you suggest wait time is before you cook one pizza, you take it out to put the next one in?
So initial heat up between sort of 15 to 20 minutes max, no longer than that. Between pizzas, again, depends on how hot it's been previously, which oven it is. We sell a really nice IR kind of gun for checking temperatures. So recommending that, especially if you're making pizza often and a lot, because then you can really kind of stay on top of it really well. Because the stone recovery takes anything between sort of 1 minute to 1 to 2 minutes.
So
Again,
not that long.
not that long. I mean,
Yeah.
usually my cadence is that I'll stretch a pizza, I'll bake the pizza, and I don't start stretching the other pizza until I've baked one of the pizzas. Come, and then once that one pizza is ready, I'll go and stretch another pizza, and that gives me that really good sort of cadence of cooking. And usually at home when I'm cooking, we've got maybe 8 people over, and I don't want nobody gets their own pizza, basically. We just make pizzas I usually joke, like, I'll make a ton of dough, and I'll say that I'm just going to make pizzas until people stop eating pizza. And ends up being like my 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pizzas. And then when people are like, okay, we're done, then I'll stop. But I make it so that it kind of stretches out that session of just sitting there enjoying a few drinks with your friends. And
Yeah, I do the same thing when I make pizza at my house outside. It's like I just make a pizza, put it down, cut it, put it on the cutting board, and be like, all right, just grab a slice. And then same thing when everybody's kind of done. Nobody gets their own pizza. Like I think that's a better way to do it.
Absolutely. It's about shared experiences.
Yeah, the Volt you just said, that's the electric indoor oven.
Yes, indoor and outdoor. So that one we've certified it's safe to use outdoors. So it's got IPX4 rating on it, and so it's safe to use outdoors as well. 95% of our customers probably use it indoors, including myself. Most of the time it's just indoors, but that's really awesome because you can really dial in the temperatures. I'd say this is the oven if you're just like, I just love a 12-inch pizza, and pizza is my thing. I never want to experiment anywhere outside. It is so great for getting those temperatures just right, and making pizza one after another. And this one has an element underneath the stone as well. So it's got the same cordiorite stone as we use in Coda 12, which means that when we heat it up from underneath as well, you don't have to wait as long for the stone to recover.
That's great. I imagine that at your house you probably have like 10 ovens between outdoors and indoors. Do you?
I've currently got three ovens sort of in active use. So there's the Volt 12, we've got a Karu 16, and a and a Coda 2 Max. Now those Coda 2 Maxes are really like, they're really hard to come by, even for myself. So
Really?
we did a big shoot a couple of weekends ago here and brought the Coda 2 Max just because it's just in production and we're getting them over from our manufacturers. So we've only got these limited numbers for our marketing and kind of longevity testing purposes. And so I'm just kind of waiting for treading the moment that the marketing team asks for it back.
When the owner doesn't get to keep it.
Maybe they, I don't know. We'll see if they ask for it back.
That's awesome. Which one is your, like, maybe not favorite, because I'm sure that you like them all, but like your go-to?
It's really, really difficult to pick because they all are like, you could say, okay, well, they're all just pizza ovens, but they've all got their own characteristics. Like I said, they're like volt 12. If I'm indoors, I'm just cooking pizzas back to back. We've just rebuilt our kitchen there, so it's got a bit of an area now to kind of hang around in the kitchen, and so that's really fantastic for that. If I'm cooking for a larger group of people outdoors, absolutely, I'll use the Coda 2 Max just because it's got bigger throughput. I can get one pizza in, that one comes out, the other one goes next to it while the stones recharge. So it's really flexible for that. Then, I mean, I love cooking with charcoal. That's my kind of, when I use gas, if I don't use gas or electricity for cooking, I love using charcoal, Karu 16, which gives you this beautiful dry heat that is quite hard to come by with other methods.
All right, let me ask you last question. I promise. I'm going to give you 3 styles of pizza, and you tell me the perfect oven for it, okay?
All right, okay.
All right, New York, if I want to cook New York style pizza, which oven should I use?
Coda 2 Max.
Okay.
Because you can properly go up to, like, you can make smaller New York style pizzas, absolutely can, but really New York style pizza is about big slices, and Coda 2 Max, you can go up to 20 inches.
All right. Detroit style pizza. If I want to make a Detroit style pizza, which oven should I use?
Volt 12. So we have, and this is because you can get the temperatures dialed in for both deck and the top heat. We make a really good Detroit pan, actually, just launched earlier this year. Beautiful coating that just is non-stick. It comes with a stainless steel top on top of it as well. So if you want to bar bake with a stainless, like a lid on, that combo with a Volt 12 is awesome.
Yeah, Gio had those pans. He made me a Detroit style pizza with your Ooni Detroit style pans, which came out good. And then finally, I know the answer to this one, but if you want to do a Neapolitan pizza, probably any of the ovens will do.
Any of them will do. So we started with that kind of mastering that high heat and then kind of work our way down from there. Any of them will do great Neapolitan style pizza. It genuinely is just up to your own skills. If I was to choose one to do Neapolitan style pizza, I would probably go with Karu 16. So I'm going to crank it up really hot with some charcoal with a little bit of wood on top and get rolling flames on top of it. And that's my go-to.
Perfect. Do you guys have a YouTube channel where you like do cooking demonstrations and stuff?
Yeah, we've got a ton of content on YouTube and just search for Ooni basically anywhere and you'll find us.
And the main website is Ooni, OONI.com, Ooni.com.
That's it.
I see there you got links to everything. So that's probably the best place to go if you want to order one. Find your social media, check out YouTube or whatever recipes you got going on. New ovens that are coming out, Ooni.com is the website for that.
It's worth checking out. Just joining our mailing list. We don't spam you. We'll just send some good content. Occasionally when there's a new product, we'll talk about that. But most of it is just telling you about what to do with our products or how to cook pizza, even if you don't have an Ooni oven. So I'd really recommend just jumping on our website and joining the mailing list.
Perfect. We'll link that up in the show notes for this episode of the podcast. Christian, thank you so much for doing this. This is great. I had fun. I hope you did too. And this was a good conversation about pizza and all that good stuff.
This is fantastic. Thanks so much, Bruce, for having me.